Welcome to another video. Today, we'll be taking a look at Nikita Khrushchev. First of all, we'll look at who he was, his importance, books that were written about him, and some famous quotes. First of all, let's look at who he was. Nikita Khrushchev was born in 1894 on April 15th in Kalinovka, Russia, and he was born to a poor peasant family. In his early life, he worked as a shepherd and metal worker and received only a few years of formal education. In 1918, he joined the Bolshevik Party during the Russian Civil War and became an active participant in the conflict. In the 1920s, he held various administrative positions in the Donbas region, gaining a reputation for his organization skills and loyalty to the party. In the 1930s, he rose rapidly through the Communist Party's ranks. He became a close ally of Joseph Stalin and was appointed as the first secretary of the Moscow Regional Committee. In 1938, he became a member of the Politburo, the highest decision-making body of the Communist Party. During World War II, he served as a political commissar overseeing military operations and boosting troop morale, notably during the Battle of Stalingrad. Post-war, he returned to Ukraine as first secretary of the Ukrainian Communist Party, implementing Stalin's policies. In 1953, after Stalin's death, Khrushchev maneuvered to become the first secretary of the Communist Party, emerging as the most powerful leader in the USSR. In 1956, he delivered the secret speech at the 20th Party Congress, denouncing Stalin's cult of personality and initiating de-Stalinization. In 1957, he survived an attempt coup by the anti-party group, solidifying his control over the Soviet government. In 1958, he became premier of the Soviet Union, combining the roles of party leader and head of government. During the Cold War era, he promoted the space race, leading to the launch of Sputnik in 1957 and Yuri Gagarin's spaceflight in 1961. He faced off against the United States during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. His domestic policies: he implemented agricultural reforms, including the Virgin Lands campaign, which aimed to boost grain production but faced mixed results. In 1964, he ousted from power by his colleagues who were dissatisfied with his erratic leadership and policy failures. Retirement: he lived under house arrest in Moscow, writing his memoirs and reflections on his political career. In 1971, he died on September the 11th in Moscow, buried in the Novodevichy cemetery without state honors. Why is he that important? Well, first of all, because of his de-Stalinization. Khrushchev initiated the process of de-Stalinization, significantly reducing the repressive policies and the cult of personality established by Joseph Stalin, thereby liberalizing Soviet society. Economic and agricultural reforms. He launched several economic reforms, including the Virgin Lands campaign to increase agricultural output, although, as already mentioned, with mixed success. Space race leadership. Under his leadership, the Soviet Union achieved major milestones in space exploration, including launching the first artificial satellite, Sputnik, in 1957, and sending the first human, Yuri Gagarin, into space, as already mentioned, in 1961. The Cuban Missile Crisis. He played a critical role during the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, which brought the world to the brink of nuclear war, but ultimately led to a negotiated settlement and the establishment of a direct communication line between the US and USSR. Improvement of international relationships. Khrushchev sought to improve relations with the West through policies of peaceful coexistence, leading to significant diplomatic engagements and a temporary thaw in the Cold War tensions. A cultural thaw. He allowed greater cultural and intellectual freedom, resulting in a period known as the Khrushchev thaw, which saw a relative relaxation of censorship and repression in the arts and literature. But after a while, many of these policies were taken back and they returned to policies which were similar to those under the Stalin regime. Now, let's take a look at some important books that were written about him. Khrushchev, The Man and His Era, by William Taubman. It is pretty significant because it won the Pulitzer Prize. It's a biography which provides a comprehensive and nuanced portrait of Khrushchev, detailing his rise to power, his policies, and his eventual downfall. It's widely regarded as one of the most authoritative accounts of his life and leadership. The next book I have is Khrushchev Remembers, by Nikita Khrushchev himself, but it was edited by Stroop Talbot. This book is based on Khrushchev's own memoirs, offering an insider's perspective on Soviet politics, his relationship with Stalin, and key events during his time in power. It provides invaluable first-hand insights into his thoughts and motivations. Next up, we have Memoirs of Nikita Khrushchev, also from Nikita Khrushchev. It was edited by Khrushchev's son. This multi-volume work delves deeply into his personal recollections and reflections on his political career and historical events, providing a detailed and personal account of his experience. Next up, Khrushchev, A Political Life, by William J. Thompson. This book analyzes Khrushchev's political career and leadership style, exploring his significant impact on Soviet and global politics. It offers a detailed examination of his policies and their long-term effects. The next book I have is Khrushchev and the Creation of Superpower, by Sergei N. Khrushchev, so by himself. It was written by Khrushchev's son, but also partially by Khrushchev himself. This book examines how Khrushchev transformed the Soviet Union into a global superpower, focusing on his policies and their impact on both domestic and international stages. The Khrushchev Era, De-Stalinization and the Limits of Reform in the USSR, between 1953 and 1964, by Polly Jones. This book explores the period of de-Stalinization under Khrushchev, analyzing the challenges and limitations of his reform efforts. It provides a critical assessment of his attempts to reshape Soviet society and politics. The last book I have to offer is The Last Empire, The Final Days of the Soviet Union, by Serhii Plokhy. I'm sorry if I pronounced that name completely wrong. While not solely about Khrushchev, this book provides important context about the long-term effects of his policies and leadership, particularly in how they influenced the later stages of the Soviet Union and its eventual dissolution. That's the end of this part. Now, before I let you guys go, I'll give you 3 quotes from Khrushchev. The first one is, "We will bury you." This is actually misinterpreted. It was intended to mean that communism would outlast capitalism. The second quote I have is, "Politicians are the same all over. They promise to build a bridge even when there is no river." The last quote is, "If you live among wolves, you have to act like a wolf." Thank you for listening and see you next time.